Hi, everybody. Welcome to The Right Side with Doug Billings. Thank you for watching and listening. If you're watching, you're on YouTube or Rumble, perhaps Facebook. You've linked to us. And if you're listening, you're on one of the major podcast platforms across the planet. We are on all of them. We're grateful for the success that you've blessed us with. We are ranked number 5 in the United States for news, commentary, and in the top 10 across Europe and the world. Thank you very much. Take a look at those numbers. Outstanding, and we are blessed, and we're honored to have all of you here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I think that it's important for the voices of conservatism to be heard around the world, and the platform here enables conservatives to get the voice out. Now, most of the time it's just me, and I am not owned by a corporate entity. I'm not bound by any agreement. I can just tell you my opinion, and that's what we do on this show. And I can tell you good people exactly how I feel, how I think, what my opinions are about news of the day. And tonight I want to tell you seriously that I love President Donald Trump. The first time I was able to vote, I voted for Ronald Reagan. And I can tell you that President Trump in my lifetime is the most incredible, brilliant, most successful president I've ever seen. And as I look at history, I think that President Trump has affected the world in a positive, brilliant, meaningful way. And judging from the messages, the hundreds of messages, if you go to the YouTube channel, go to my YouTube channel and take a look at the comments. People around the world are tuning into this program and vocalizing their support and their love for President Trump. I am absolutely astonished in one way. I mean, it's one thing to be an American citizen and live in the United States and see the obvious support and love that we have for President Trump, but to see the comments that come in from around the world, it's truly amazing, to me at least, and I think it's outstanding. And I hope that with the audience and the growth that this show is experiencing and the blessings that you've all provided it, that perhaps someday President Trump himself will see. And I hope he does. I can tell you that this program is going to continue to proclaim the Trump doctrine, to promote the America First ideals that he instituted, and to counterpunch the radical communist socialist agendas. Now, President Trump has taught everybody, not just Americans, but everybody around the world, that it should be your country first. Right? America first is one thing. I've received messages from Australia. It should be Australia first if you are an Australian. It should be New Zealand first. It should be England first. Ireland first. It should be Germany first. France first. The Netherlands first. Denmark. The Sudan. Japan. It should be Poland first. You see, wherever you live, your country, your ideals should be first, and that's what President Trump has given the world the courage to say. And the thing is, it's resounding with intellectual maturity. That's obvious, but not very many world leaders have the guts to say it. President Trump is now the template for what people around the world want for their leadership. And for any leader that doesn't recognize it, for any leader who thinks, well, I can't say that, I'm too shy, oh my God, I can't do it, you're going to lose in the long run. You're going to be voted out. People want you to put your interests of your country first. Well, we on this program, we're going to counterpunch all of the liberal communist socialist agenda. Now, for those of you that are new to the program, you'll hear me say communist socialists, because in America, the Democratic Party doesn't exist anymore. Now, they'll say it. They'll use Republicans and Democrats. But when you hear Democrats, you need to know Democrats do not exist anymore in America. We have what they've wanted all along, at least for the last 20, 30, 50 years. They've slowly evolved to this point so that now they're not ashamed, they're not afraid, they're out of the closet, they're in full view. They've melded the communist socialist agendas together, and they've become commu-socialists. Commu-socialists, that's what I've called them, that's what they are. Please repeat that term when you're in your discussions with regard to all of that. That's what they have become. Now, with regards to what's been happening in America over the last few days, since Trump gave his farewell speech, and, I want to comment on a few things about that and about what I've said about it. I want you all to know there's no doubt where I stand. I think that, today was, as we look at today, the first full day of the Biden illegitimate presidency, and we would be remiss if we didn't say that, look, on the Biden first illegitimate day of presidency, in the United States at least, we already have new unemployment claims that have gone from 181,000 to 196,000. We have 1,000 new COVID deaths today. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? That's what they did to Trump. Hey, look, you're on the job now. Look what you got. Thanks, Joe. More unemployment, more COVID deaths. Let's try to work it out, will you? Oh, and by the way, thanks for the executive order that stopped the Keystone Pipeline construction in the United States. A pipeline, by the way, that costs, provides 8,000 jobs in the United States. Most of them, Joe, are union jobs. So all of you people in the United States, at least, who are watching, who are members of unions, illegitimate President Biden has just eliminated 8,000 of your brothers and sisters' jobs. So long to the energy independence that President Trump established for the United States. The national nightmare has begun. But we, you see, are patriots. And when we hear the news of the Biden nightmare, it's important for us to remember that there is, at least by my count, 5 things, and there's probably many more, 5 things that we should remember with regards to being a patriot. And this list is not just for Americans, ladies and gentlemen. This list is for you who are in Great Britain, those of you who are in Ireland, Germany, France, all the countries that I mentioned before. This list, you don't have to be American to be a patriot, is my point. But in order to be a patriot, I think, for me at least, the top 5 things are these. Number 1, we have to know what the cause is. And we have to know especially what is the price of the cause. What is the price of losing the cause? What happens to our country if we as patriots don't prevail? So we have to, number 1, understand the cause. Number 2, we never give up. Wow, on social media, so much giving up among patriots. Well, that's it. Tanks didn't roll down the street. Biden wasn't let off in handcuffs. Kamala Harris wasn't put in jail. The Clintons weren't touched. Barack Obama still went home to have dinner with his family. Where's the justice? I thought we were going to have justice on Inauguration Day. I thought the military was going to swoop in. Trump has abandoned us. Patriots never give up, and they never utter BS like that. Even in the face of what seems to be insurmountable odds, and just because things that were postulated didn't necessarily come true in your time, doesn't mean that we go, well, that's it. I'll never trust that guy again. Insurmountable odds. In the United States, the number 1 insurmountable odd right now seems to be, or insurmountable obstacle, I should say, seems to be, and probably is, election integrity. voter fraud, right? Listen, patriots of the United States, don't you dare say to me anything like, well, we're never going to have another fair election, Doug. I mean, they've rigged the system against us. What are we going to do? We're never going to be able to be sure that our candidate wins. Look, first of all, two things about that. I learned a long time ago that using absolutes like never is rarely wise. In this case, someone says, we're never going to win another election, Doug, so what's the use? Because, the communist socialists, they've rigged the system. All right, so let me say this about that, and let me be very clear with you, because there comes a time where people need to be treated with kid gloves, and there comes a time where you need some tough love. This is exactly why we as patriots will move forward. With those kinds of comments, we are going to move forward with determined prayer and, equally as important, determined patriotism. Because you're damn right that the election system is rigged against us. But for all that is patriotic, we will not allow ourselves to become snowflakes. I'm never going to vote again. You might as well be one of them in 2016 who had a complete mental breakdown when Trump won on the opposite side. Remember those film clips? Crying, weeping, whining. That is not us. We don't do that. Our parents and our grandparents taught us how to handle adversity. We were taught that participation trophies are nothing and we don't need them. We want to face adversity. We want to conquer it. Because in so doing, we discover our own human dignity and we understand how to compete, how to win. And when we lose, by the way, we get back up and we don't melt into a puddle of snowflake tears. Those comments that are made on social media, you've got to guard yourself against that, you guys. Those are earmarks of defeatism. And we are not, on this program at least, we're not going to encourage defeatism. And if I happen to be on social media and see your snowflake comment, I'm going to call you out on it. Because it's tough love. And there can be no more hall passes with regards to being a snowflake in the conservative movement. Suck it up, sugar britches. Patriotism isn't about being a snowflake, and it's not about giving up in the face of insurmountable odds. What the hell do you think George Washington would have done? Well, God, there's too many British soldiers. I'm just going to go back home to Mount Vernon and be a farmer. Give me a freaking break. Well, I went off on a tangent there on step number 2 of how to be a patriot, but here's number 3. Being a patriot means that we have to focus on the enemy. Now, number 1, election integrity is the number 1 focus in the United States, and I would wager to say that it's probably a focus with you people around the world. Election integrity, it has got to be a focus. I think, secondly, we've got to, at least in America, we've got to press the Republican Party to turn its full attention to that, all right? Election integrity. Number 4, we have to, around the world, fight for freedom of speech and liberty. Freedom of speech is an easy one to look at now because of the squelching that big tech has done to all of us conservatives. Censorship, it has to end. It has to end, and we have to be able to draw our own conclusions from multiple competing sources of information about how we feel about that information and move forward. Also, liberty. Liberty is under attack in the world. The primary example that I can think of right now is the masks. The masks have never been about your health. They are a mechanism of enslavement. They're a visible sign of political signaling. Masks. They're a capitulation to the mob. If you don't do this, you're causing danger to other people. And okay, I'm going to do it because the mob says I have to wear the mask. And finally, it was always a sign of animus to President Trump. Another example of your enslavement to the mob and to the Communist Socialist Party, especially with regards to their allies in the media. In America, we just hit a milestone, so they say. 400,000 people have died now of COVID. Now, ladies and gentlemen, COVID is real, and people can die from it. I have some hard truth for you. There's no way in hell that 400,000 people in the United States have died of COVID-19 when it's the primary cause of death. We have people with multiple competing, pre-existing medical conditions who have died. Most of them are over the age of 75. And I'm not, look, every death is tragic. I'm just simply saying 400,000 is a lie. And if you believe it, you're intellectually immature and you're giving yourself up to radical communist socialist slavery. COVID-19 and the entire panic around it is the biggest nothing burger in the history of hysteria. And that statement doesn't mean that if you've had a loved one who's died from it, that I don't care about it or I don't have sympathy for you. Number 5 on our step to being patriots, we engage in the two most important things that we have at our disposal, in our quiver, in our arsenal, whatever you want to say. As patriots, we have two things that are the most important of all of the things that we can use. Number 1 is determined prayer. We are the side of God. We are, and we have to admit it finally, around the world, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a spiritual war. In America, I believe, my opinion is, that America was founded by God, and his divine providence worked its way through and among the founding fathers. And while God never abandons anything that he starts, God can let us, because we have free will, we will, as human beings, screw things up. And by virtue of our screw-ups, we may go through trials and tribulations because we've made poor choices in our lives. He's going to allow us to screw things up. You see, God doesn't force us to make decisions. We make them on our own. And we're going to go through testing and turmoil and treachery until we are all smart enough, not only in America but around the world, to realize that it's because we lost God that we're losing our republic. It's because we turned on our back on God that people like the Biden crime family and Kamala Harris, who has no love or belief in religion really, or the Democratic Socialist, Communist Socialist Party, it's because we turn our back on God that they ascend to power. But we can get the republic back and we can get God back. And those of you who are struggling like America, we can find hope and redemption again with determined prayer. And the second component of this most important two things that we have in our arsenal with regards to how we combat the communist socialist trend across the planet, coupled with determined prayer, we have and we engage in and we never relent with our determined patriotism. Determined patriotism can be as simple as not leaving Twitter just because President Trump isn't there anymore. Determined patriotism can be making a decision to stay on Twitter, to counterpunch the communist socialist platform that it has become, to combat the communist socialist narrative that is so pervasive through all of social media. You see, and I know that there's two camps on this, speaking conservative values to a group of conservatives is an echo chamber. We'll all have kumbaya moments and say, hey, great, good to see you here on Telegram. Thanks for coming on over. Thanks for being on CloutHub. Now, CloutHub is a good platform. Don't get me wrong. They don't censor. Telegram appears to be. I just signed up the other day. You can find me at Doug Billings on Telegram. But, you know, and I enjoy being around and communicating with my fellow conservatives, but to abandon platforms that are mostly liberal, it seems to me, might not be wise, because we need to counterpunch. And I know that many of you have your own opinion on that, and that's good. But, you know, determined patriotism can also be lived out in demanding that your schools in your neighborhoods stop inculcating our kids with anti-American, anti-conservative values and ideologies, where we have teachers who are teaching personal beliefs and personal politics rather than honest history, for example. Teaching in America, we experience educational institutions all the time that are now teaching that America is systemically racist, we were founded by white supremacists, and that our past is evil. Here's a nugget of truth for everybody, and I think that it's, you know, these are one of these things that is evidence of the obvious, right? You all know this. Teaching truthful history is never, rarely, evil. See, I almost used one of those red flag words. Teaching honest history is rarely evil. But the communist socialists, ladies and gentlemen, the communist socialists want to erase history. They want to change history. They want to topple history. We, in the United States, witnessed it all year long last year, to the point where they want to topple statues of Abraham Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. They want to teach false history based on their own political agenda. And we, with determined patriotism, can call them out on that and demand that they stop it. You know, and I, from time to time, will have guests on this program who share information and their opinions about things. Two of them in particular have garnered me a lot of international attention. And I'm grateful for all of that, literally. And I mean, I think many of you know these two gentlemen that I'm going to talk about, Charlie Ward and Simon Parkes. And immediately, many of you just go into a negative. You just default to the negative immediately, because you think whatever they say, it ought to come true immediately. And again, I'm just going to remind you that this show gives a platform, a non-censored freedom of speech platform, where people can come on and share their opinion and their ideas. And you'll notice, really, when you look at this program, I really don't make predictions. I really don't. I might tell you how I think things might turn out based on my opinion, but I don't make predictions. Now, people like Simon and Charlie will come on, and because the information that they give didn't come immediately true, many of you want to crucify them in the public square. Well, I just think that's ridiculous. I think you need to take information in from multiple competing sources, Charlie and Simon among them, and then make up your own mind. And whatever you do, don't blame me for the way that you interpret their information. Don't give me the power to control how you feel about information that's given to you. Nobody should have that power. Think for yourselves. There is some woman on Facebook, I didn't hear from Doug. Where is he? He needs to tell us how to think about this. BS. That's insane. Think for yourself. Make up your own mind. I have found Simon and Charlie to be nothing but genuine, thoroughly cordial, polite, and I think they're interesting. I think they bring information to the table that nobody else talks about. And I leave it up to you, good people. Please, make up your own mind. I mean, gosh, it's so many people out there who claim to be patriots just automatically default to the negative. Well, no, it didn't come true, Doug. You're a huckster. You're just getting our hopes up. You guys are that is a snowflake. Stand the hell up. Listen to multiple competing sources of information. Spread the conservative message and think for yourselves. Do your own research. Now, let me also be clear about something. I'm going to continue to invite people on the program, and I don't have a lot of guests. Most of the time, it's just like this, you and me, and I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm telling you about things that are going on. I might say, here's what I think happened. Lynn Wood the other day texts people, says, hey, Biden may well be arrested soon. That doesn't mean that you should freak out if Biden's not arrested tonight. I mean, I saw a lot of comments on other social media platforms, not necessarily my own, but why hasn't military action taken place? Why haven't we seen people shackled up and jailed and arrested and blah, blah, blah? Simon and Charlie said it would be so. And so here's the deal. This is a show of information about opinions. I am not Brett Baer on Fox News giving you hard news. I'm not reporting just what happened. We're talking about speculation. We're talking about opinions. We're talking about things that we have heard, they have heard, she's heard, and we're sharing it. Because I think that's good. It's good. It's part of the debate. I mean, to think that Biden might have been drug off the stage in shackles and arrested, when you think about it, nobody ever said that was going to happen. Anyway, there's nobody more sickened by the whole Biden illegitimate inauguration than me. But I'm not giving myself anything other than this. Maybe it's a New Year's gift that I've decided that now I'm going to give myself this present, this gift. And the gift that I'm giving myself when I hear from people like Charlie and Simon and others, when I look at the news and I make my own conclusions about it, I'm giving myself the gift of patience. And I would suggest to you, humbly and respectfully, that you give yourselves the gift of patience. Patience. We've become a world and a society where we're so quick to judge if things don't happen immediately. Things this intricate, with what's going on right now in America with the election and the inauguration, we can share information, but so often it changes at the last moment and so forth. So give yourselves the gift of patience. I think all of you who have voiced frustrations have voiced warranted frustrations. Everybody's frustrated, beginning with me. I'm frustrated that our election system is screwed up. But we have to give ourselves permission to get over that and to work through a discussion and a debate as to how to fix those kinds of things. I know that there's haters. I know that there will always be people who comment out of emotion and surrender their own power of determining their opinion to others. Patience. I think that, I have to be patient when I looked at Biden's inaugural speech, because he basically called you and me, all of us who hold conservative values, Joe Biden basically called us racists and white supremacists and that we must be squelched. His speech wasn't about unity, ladies and gentlemen. The left will look at it, the word unity, and they will make you think that you should be unified because somehow we always think that it's not, it's good to be unified. But that speech was a slap in the face to 100 million people who voted for President Trump. And yes, it's 100 million. It's not 75 million. He spoke of unity, hoping that the weak-willed Republican people in office and around the country would buy into it. But Biden wasn't talking about unity. And by the way, a little segment on that. Unity is not a fundamental right. It's not a fundamental American value, believe it or not. Unity, we have to unify. We have to unite. We can unite as patriots. We can unite around a cause of patriotism. Don't get me wrong. But unity, as spewed forth at the speech from Biden, it's not. It's not an American value. It's we in America we have the ability to agree to disagree. In other words, we have the right to agree to disagree. We have the right to agree not to unify. Our Constitution tells us that the divine creator, he's given us certain inalienable rights, the ability to pursue those rights, the ability to pursue happiness, to pursue liberty, to pursue life. Unity isn't in the mix. Unity is not in the Constitution. Neither is health care, free education, free food, free what. No, it's not in the Constitution. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't take care of your neighbor, and that if your neighbor needs food that you can't provide, that's one thing. That's what the founders intended, don't you see? They didn't intend the government to come in and dictate that you need to take care of your neighbor, and we're going to take your money to give it to them and redistribute your wealth. That's pure communist ideologies. The founders and God intended us to take care of each other. If you're looking for fundamental rights in the United States Constitution, really the fundamental ones are life, primarily. I think equality and liberty. Those are the primary ones. And, you know, if you read the Federalist Papers, for those of you in America, you need to read the Federalist Papers. And for those of you around the world, you also should read the Federalist Papers. Look them up, Google them. Important documents about liberty, rights, how we apply those things. Well, in Federalist Paper number 10, James Madison said that faction is what motivates Americans. That means that we all have passions, we all have beliefs, we all have opinions, we all want to share information, we want to express our opinions, and we have different approaches and opinions on a variety of topics. We have an opinion about a variety of issues. You see, that's what this program is about, sharing that and leaving it to you to make up your own opinion about as to whether or not you want to buy in to those particular sets of opinions and information that are being dispensed to you on whatever show you're watching. You see, it's the debate, it's the discussion about how we sort those passions and those opinions and those beliefs out that lead us to the decisions about how to proceed. It's not about just saying we're going to have unity and poof, there it is. Unity isn't in the mix of what American traditional values contain. Be very careful, ladies and gentlemen, with regards to the word unity and other key words that the Communist Socialist Party will use, because in their mind, it's a different thing. And unity, the word itself can be kind of a seductive word, right? Because we might assume, without thoroughly looking into it, and for those people who are intellectually weak, they would say, sure, we should unify. And they think that that just simply means that we should all get along. Well, everybody wants to get along, of course, but that's not what unity is. And it's not how the Communist Socialist Party implies or means unity. Look, for Communist Socialists, getting along means do as I tell you. For the Communist Socialist, getting along means believe what I tell you to believe. For them, unity is not about how problems are addressed. It's not about how problems are resolved. It's not about how we arrive at agreement. Only debate and discussion can lead to that. Look, the radical far left Communist Socialist wing is never going to agree with the Republican Party of Donald Trump. It's in the debate. It's in the discussion as to how we sort all of our feelings out, our opinions out, and how we decide to go forward from there. And Joe Biden demonstrated at his inaugural speech, his illegitimate inaugural speech, that he was not interested at all in any desire to aspire towards unity. And I think ultimately that's okay. He doesn't need to be aspiring towards unity. Fine, because I'm of the belief that we should be aspiring towards debate, discussion, and decisions on how to go forward. It's not unity by which we arrive at decisions. I'll say it for the 15th time. It's debate and discussion. And the question really is then, where is the civility in the debate and in the discussion? That's the question. Because the Communist Socialist Party has demonstrated throughout the last year they have no desire to unify and they have no desire to be civil with you. They have no interest in any of it, and evidence of the obvious is sufficient. They spent the entire year last year civilly burning America, right? I mean, I need to wrap up so that I can get this show out to you tonight. One more thing, though. Blessings, ladies and gentlemen, blessings are born from challenges. Blessings are born from moments like this. The sickness that we have because of Biden. Blessings are born from that sick feeling that many of you shared with me on Inauguration Day about that gut feeling, that sickness in your gut, watching the Biden crime family come on to the podium. Blessings are born also, ladies and gentlemen, from never giving up. Oh, I can't vote again, Doug. We'll never have another honest election. Don't say that. Don't believe it. Don't give up. You will fight with determined prayer and determined patriotism to fix that problem because you're a patriot. And you're not going to let them win and get away with it again. The way forward is to realize that we are in a spiritual war with these MFers. Satan and his minions are in full force in all of this. What we have here is not a question about the pathway forward between two American or worldwide political parties, because whatever country you're in, I'm telling you right now, in America, there's only one American political party. It's the Republican Party. The Communist Socialist Party that has replaced the Democrat Party with their mix of communism and socialism, they've made it quite clear, my friends, quite clear. And evidence of the obvious is sufficient. You don't need me to tell you this. The Communist Socialist Party have decided that they want to fundamentally change America, transform America. And when they say that, it's kind of like when they use the word unity. They have no intention of transforming it into, a better version of what it is. They want to radically destroy it, burn it, torch it, and rebuild it into communist socialism. The translation really means that they want to abandon the paths of the founding fathers. They want to reject the role of divine providence and God himself. And they want to accomplish their goal by mechanisms of chaos and crises. Never let a good crisis go to waste. That's one of their battle cries. Riots, looting, arson, anarchy. Yeah, that's what they did. They want to divorce themselves from America, and they did it by virtue of fire and anarchy. So we are in a spiritual war, and we need a great awakening around the planet. This is not a great awakening for America only. This is a great awakening for everyone around the world to come back to the Judeo-Christian values that we all know that are correct and conservative. A belief in the sanctity, for example, of all life, born and unborn. We need to agree finally that abortion and the death penalty are wrong. We can say that the sanctity of life applies only to babies in the womb. But once you're born, by God, you're fair game. If you screw up, we can kill you. That's not a conservative value, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing that you can do in your life, no matter how bad or horrendous it is, that would rob your life of the divine sanctity that's given to it by God himself. Now, for all of you who are absolutely aghast right now that I said the death penalty has to be off the table, if your anger is due in part of a yearning for justice and revenge and vengeance, I want you to know that life in prison for whoever it is that has hurt you is far worse, far more painful than having a few cocktails of lethal injections shoved into your veins. Put the people that have hurt you in jail for the rest of their lives. And practically speaking, life in prison without parole is a lot less expensive than spending a life on death row because of the court costs and appeal processes and so forth. Look, life is life, and all life comes from God. No matter what anybody does, the sanctity of human life cannot be erased by what a mortal person does with his or her life. Believe it. And I know that I just went off on a complete tangent, but that's what conservatives need to come together about. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. You know, when you lose God, you lose God when you slander and you accuse people on social media. You lose God when you allow the enemy to cause you to default to the negative. Instead of saying, hey, hang on, I'm just going to default right now to the positive. I need to do some research and investigation, and maybe I'll change but I'm going to default to the positive. You see, that's the Holy Spirit working within you. When you lose God, when you refuse to give yourself permission to have patience so that in the fullness of God's time, the things that you seek, the things that you yearn for, the things that you pray for will come true in God's time. Take the information that human beings give you and decipher it and make decisions, but give yourself patience. Those are the ways that you lose God, but you find God in cordiality. You find God in friendship, in friendly conversation. You find God in the ability to think for yourselves. You find God in the conservative approach to life and prayerful, honest, and vocal support of each other in the public square, whether that's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, CloutHub, whatever. You don't find God by tearing people down just because your timeline wasn't met. And you don't find God in gossip or slander, not in false accusations. And here is a shout out to all of you who have rallied to the cause on social media. I have seen you. I'm grateful for you. And we have got to promise each other that we will continue to have each other's back. It's because we are the party, the conservative movement around the world, in whatever country you're in. Conservative values are universal. They are holy, and they come from God himself. And you need to give yourself permission to have patience to realize that. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, you need to give yourself permission to believe that. All right? I've got your back. I hope you have mine. Share this message. Conservative voices need to be heard, and this program needs your help. Sponsor us if you can. Once a month, we need monthly sponsors. This is a message I think that's important. The GoFundMe page, we'll put it up briefly. I'm not a salesperson. I want you to be able to know that you can find God amongst yourselves, with each other, and the support of people like us. All right? Good. Hey, we will meet again, I promise. On tomorrow's show, Simon Parks, right back here. Look for it. It'll drop sometime tomorrow, Friday in the afternoon, U.S. time. But Simon Parks, right here again to give information and opinion right here. Cheers.